Turn off the lights in an unfamiliar room and something happens in your body that you did not choose. Your heart rate ticks up, your hearing sharpens, your eyes strain against nothing. You know rationally that the room is exactly the same as it was 10 seconds ago when the lights were on. Nothing has changed except the absence of light, and yet some part of you is suddenly quietly certain that you are not alone. Most people assume this fear is childish, something you're supposed to grow out of. But you never really do. And the reason why is far older and far stranger than a fear of the dark, because you are not actually afraid of darkness. You are afraid of what your brain insists is hiding inside it. Start with the obvious question. Why would the absence of light frighten anyone? Darkness can't hurt you. It has no claws, no teeth, no intent. And here's the first clue that something deeper is going on. Study after study has found that people aren't afraid of the dark itself. They're afraid of the possibility the dark creates. In 2012, two researchers at Ryerson University in Toronto, Taryn Moss and Colleen Carney, ran an experiment on people who struggled to sleep. They exposed them to sudden bursts of noise, some in a lit room, some in darkness, and measured how strongly they flinched. The poor sleepers reacted far more violently to the same noises when the lights were off. The sound hadn't changed, only the darkness had. Their brains were treating an identical noise as a bigger threat purely because they couldn't see. That's the key. Darkness doesn't scare you because it's empty. It scares you because it could be full and you have no way of knowing. So where does that instinct come from? To answer that, you have to go back much further than your own childhood. You have to go back to what your ancestors were, and it's not what most people imagine. We like to picture early humans as fearless hunters, spear in hand, dominating the landscape. But anthropologists Donna Hart and Robert Sussman, in their book Man the Hunted, published in 2005, argued something that overturns that whole image. For most of our evolutionary history, we weren't the predators, we were the prey. Small, slow, clawless primates, moving through a world full of leopards, hyenas, giant snakes, and birds of prey, large enough to carry off a child. There's even direct evidence. The famous Taung Child, a fossil of an early human ancestor from over 2 million years ago, has puncture marks in its skull that researchers match to the talons of a large eagle. Our ancestors were eaten, regularly, and there was one time above all others when being eaten was most likely: night. Because here is a fact about your body that quietly explains everything. You are a daytime animal. Your eyes are built for bright light, packed with cells that detect color and detail, and almost useless in the dark. But the things that hunted your ancestors were the opposite. Big cats, in particular, have a reflective layer behind their retinas called the tapetum lucidum, the thing that makes their eyes glow when light hits them. It lets them see in near total darkness. So when the sun went down, the world flipped. Your ancestors went blind, and their predators gained the advantage. Every night was a window of maximum vulnerability. The humans who wandered casually into the dark, who felt calm and safe when they couldn't see, tended to walk straight into the jaws of something that could. They didn't survive. They didn't have children. The humans who felt a spike of dread the moment the light failed, who stayed close to the fire, who startled at every snap twig, those are the ones who lived, and you are their descendant. Every single one of your ancestors, without exception, survived the night long enough to reproduce. You are the end of an unbroken chain of survivors, and the fear you feel in the dark is the trait that kept that chain from ever breaking. But there's a deeper layer here, and it's happening inside your brain right now. The organ responsible for this feeling is a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. It's your brain's threat detector, and it operates faster than conscious thought. When you're in the dark, your amygdala doesn't have enough visual information to confirm that you're safe, so it does something that sounds irrational but is actually brilliant. It assumes the worst. Evolutionary psychologists Marty Haselton and David Buss described the logic behind this in the year 2000. They called it error management theory. Imagine you're an early human and you hear a rustle in the dark. There are two possibilities. It's the wind or it's a predator. And there are two ways to be wrong. You can panic over nothing or you can stay calm while something eats you. The cost of those two mistakes is wildly unequal. Panic over wind, and you lose a few seconds and some dignity. Stay calm about a predator, and you lose your life. Over millions of years, brains that were biased toward false alarms vastly outperformed brains that waited for proof. Your amygdala is not malfunctioning when it fills the dark with monsters. It's running a survival calculation that concluded, long ago, that it is always better to be afraid 1,000 times for nothing than to be unafraid once and be right. This is why the fear feels so specific, so personal. In the dark, your brain doesn't just make you nervous, it actively generates threats. Every shadow becomes a shape, every creak becomes a footstep. Your mind populates the empty room with the very things it's afraid of because for your ancestors, assuming the shadow was a predator was the choice that kept them alive. You are not imagining danger because you're weak. You are imagining danger because imagining danger is what your bloodline was selected for. The people who couldn't picture the monster in the dark were the ones the monster found, and this leads somewhere genuinely unsettling. That fear you feel is old, far older than you, far older than your species in its current form. Human beings have had fire, walls, doors, and electric light for the tiniest sliver of our existence. For hundreds of thousands of years before that, the dark was not a metaphor. It was the single most dangerous condition a person could be in. Your brain has not had nearly enough time to unlearn that, so it still treats a dark hallway in a locked house in a safe neighborhood as if it were an open savanna at midnight. The lights, the locks, the certainty that you're alone, none of it reaches the part of you that's afraid, because that part of you isn't living in your house. It's living in the past, running the same program it ran for every ancestor who ever froze at the mouth of a cave. So the next time you feel that irrational dread when the lights go out, understand what it actually is. It isn't weakness, it isn't childishness. It's a message, passed down through 10,000 generations, from every single person in your ancestry who was afraid enough to survive the night. Not one of them broke the chain, not one of them was eaten before they could pass that fear to the next. The dread you feel in the dark is the sensation of that inheritance switching on. It's the oldest surviving part of you, the part that kept your entire lineage alive, whispering the same thing it has whispered for 1,000,000 years. Don't go out there. Something is waiting. And the strangest part of all is this. For almost every ancestor who ever felt it, that whisper was right.